Welcome to episode 19 of the Flag Stays Down podcast with myself, Andy. We got Matt and Parker in the house as well. And boys, it's been a good week. It's been a long time since we've potted without dropping points in a week, and it's been a Sunday fun day for me. I don't know about you guys.
Happy 2022, happy January, happy no longer in December. Man, it feels good to get a couple of wins. Granted, against Chesterfield and Tottenham and not in the league, but hey, we'll take it. We're not going to complain about it.
We always take wins over Tottenham. We don't care when.
Especially what was supposed to be a full strength Tottenham, just demolished. Oh, nothing sweeter. And in that one, we got Kai Havertz starting it out early in the 5th minute. And we have probably the most Spursy thing to ever happen. A double doink own goal in the 34th. Really, this one could have been about 10-0 with the amount of chances we had. But like we said, kind of a comprehensive win. And for me personally, it was great to see Hakim Ziyech being the little magician that we all thought he would be when he signed now about 2 years ago. And just those balls that he had, I just wish Timo, Ram, all those guys could have put away, but it was still a fun game to watch.
Yeah, Ziyech was a highlight for me. I thought Malang Sarr played well. Alonso, I thought, played pretty well as well. And Saul's kind of back. He's put together a couple of solid performances here. But I think the winner here was Tuchel with a 4-2-2-2 lineup, not many options. I think his quote was, "You can't play 5 defenders if you don't have 5 healthy defenders," or something like that. But just to kind of make do with what you got. And then it's good to keep a clean sheet with Kepa, with Mendy gone at AFCON. Good to see him make a couple of saves as well. So all around solid performances from the boys.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to watch the game, but Parks, Collins, you guys are providing updates and kind of play-by-play, so obviously appreciate that. It sounded like a different Chelsea performance than we've seen in, I don't know, about the last three weeks or so. It seemed like a dominating Chelsea performance. Not just dominating possession, but just owning kind of that final third of the pitch. And that's something that we just haven't seen a whole lot of lately. It's kind of been, at least in my opinion, a little bit more counterattack-ish, where we kind of own that. But from everything that I've heard and everything that I've seen, it seemed like we were on the front foot the entire time. Tottenham didn't really have an answer for us, and we were just pushing forward with every chance that we got. So I'm sure I'll go back and watch it tonight or tomorrow, but it seemed like a great performance overall.
Yeah, and Parker, you had mentioned that Saul had a great game. He was, for the first time this year, the Flag Stays Down man of the match. So kind of a turnaround for him. He's only played 5 games now, and he has both a get the fuck out of here and a man of the match. So congrats to him. The one negative though was our get the fuck out of here winner, and that's Kai Havertz's finger. We've been dealing with injuries now for seemingly a month and a half, and just tack another one on. I don't know if you guys saw the image, but it's not a pretty looking finger. So hopefully quick recovery to him.
Yeah, I felt bad for him. He had a really solid first half. I think he got subbed off at half, and he had the finger. I think he picked that one up with the goal, and then he took another knock later on as well. So he's getting beat up a little bit, but he put together a really solid performance, and he could have been a contender for man of the match had he played 80 minutes and been more positive in the second half. But Collins, when we were watching this match, man, the only word that came to mind was swag. Chelsea played with a whole lot of swag in this, and there were some Ole moments, there was some back heels, there was some tight possession, and then get out of it, break out, and have some pretty oohs and ahs moments. So I love seeing that type of Chelsea play. I've missed it a lot, and it was great to see it kind of come back and dominate. So I thoroughly enjoyed my time watching it. It also helps that I wasn't working and I got to just really focus in on a midweek match finally. So yeah, maybe I should just not work more often.
I won't blame you if you don't.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. I was gonna say that, Parker, you're dead on. Like, from, again, everything that you guys are saying, it just looked like we had a different swagger to how we came out against Tottenham. Obviously, it's Tottenham, so there's probably a little bit more on the line, it being a cup game, things like that. But no, from everything you guys were saying, it just seemed like we owned the pitch from the first kick. And it's something that I'm excited to kind of watch, because we haven't seen that a ton, at least in December. It's just one of those things that's kind of fallen by the wayside, obviously with injuries, COVID, all those other things that kind of play into it. It's just nice to at least hear that we're kind of back in that attack mindset, and we're willing to definitely keep pressing forward despite, whatever injuries or circumstances that we're going up against.
Yeah, and now we do bring that 2-0 lead, and there is no away goal differential this year in the Carabao Cup. So the clean sheet doesn't make a whole ton of difference, but with that being said, a 2-goal difference, against the Spurs side that we thoroughly dominated, and now taking that this week into the away fixture, it's looking good for Chelsea to go to the cup final without ever leaving the city of London, which is another pretty crazy fact there. But speaking of cups, we also had the third round of the FA Cup on Saturday here. 5-1 win over non-league Chesterfield. And on the score sheet in this one, Timo Werner, Callum Hudson-Odoi, Big Rom, Andreas Christensen, Hakim Ziyech. Another match where it was dominated pretty much from beginning to end. Chesterfield certainly had a little bit more possession once the youth and the non-starters came into the match for Chelsea, but pretty much from start to end, a pretty thorough demolition of a team that, let's be honest, if this is December, they would have given us problems.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you're hoping that you start out on the front foot right away and you get a couple of those goals early on. That's what you want in a cup game, especially against a team like that. You don't want to fall into a trap where it's 0-0 heading into the 75th minute and you haven't been able to produce anything. Like, you just want to get it done, out of the way, give a chance for the kids to play. Like, that's a primary focus of the FA Cup. We all know the importance it is to English teams and everything, but at the same time, it's a chance to get the kids to trot out, see what they have, see how well they mesh with everybody else and with the system. That being said, Lewis Hall, where has he been? What a performance by him. He's 17 and a half years old, and it's like he's been playing with the first team the entire season. I'll say it right now, I want him over Marcus Alonso. And I don't think I'm going to get a lot of backlash on that. He can defend, he can attack, he has pace, he has the right attitude. He just fits the system very well. And his performance, although it's against Chesterfield, I understand that. So take that with a bit of a grain of salt. But the way that he performed, the way that he showed out early on and often, I think he's somebody that we could definitely call up as a secondary or primary to Marcus Alonso.
See, you say that, Matt, like against Chesterfield, we have to kind of discount it. But the other point, the counterpoint to it is it's not his preferred position. He's a box-to-box midfielder in the academy, and he slots in as a left back. And he's not like sliding into a position that Chelsea's even, familiar with Chelsea have played very few left backs or pure left backs in their system this year. So new system, and he figured it out well. What stood out to me was just his confidence. He didn't really look nervous. He had one nervy moment in which he went forward, gave the ball up, and then proceeded to go win it back and, and produce an assist, which is just phenomenal. So, hats off to him. This is just going to be me shouting people out. Collins, congrats to you for correctly predicting the score, 5-1. That is a rare hit. I wish you would have put some money on Vegas for that one because it would have paid out brilliantly. So shout out to you on that one. And then, shout out to Chesterfield. Shout out to the fans. They had 6,000 traveling supporters, which was awesome to see. And then, from what I heard, their youth academy all came down too. And Chelsea's youth academy kind of hosted them, and they did some competitions all throughout the ranks of the youth system. I think it's a classy touch. I think it's a really cool thing. I saw some of the Twitter exchange back and forth from the official club Twitter representatives, and it was all really positive. Chesterfield was very appreciative, very thankful, and Chelsea was welcome to host them. And so I know those are little things and little moments, but they go a long way. And just a really quick story from me. When I did get to go to Stamford Bridge a couple seasons ago for my first Chelsea match, I was over the moon. I was loving life. I tweeted a picture of myself and my brother, and the official Chelsea Twitter commented on it, and they said, welcome. And it just felt cool to see. And it was one of those moments where you're just like, okay, this is awesome. They at least someone saw on the other end of the screen, saw my tweet and liked it and commented back. And it's something that took them 2 minutes, and it made a huge difference to me. So sure, it made a difference to the Chesterfield team to feel welcomed at the Bridge. Not much else to say on a commanding 5-1 win. You could just see the quality, the difference there. And I'm happy that we were able to finish some opportunities early and then get the youth a chance to get some minutes. So overall pleased, happy, and the only criticism and commentary I would have was I wish more youth players got to play more of the time. When I saw Kai Havertz coming on, I was like, okay, maybe not, but that's a nitpick there. So that's kind of all I got there.
Yeah, and Parker, like you said, I thought the club did a great job in terms of hosting an ambitious non-league team. In terms of bringing the academy in. From everything I've seen, it was basically the entire stadium cheered on Chesterfield's goal. I mean, scoring a goal against the European champions as a non-league club, as basically a semi-pro club, is amazing, and that's something that you're going to send the fans home with. Something the players are going to remember for a long time. So while it does suck to give up the clean sheet, it's from top to bottom. This is kind of a feel-good story match.
So one additional thing is I apologize for not remembering what his name was from Chesterfield who scored the goal, but he had just come back off of an ACL rehab after 9 months. And in a match like that, he's the one that scores the goal. It just warms your heart. You feel for it, and as you take your love of a club, you take that out of it. It's just a good, pure, heartfelt, emotional moment, and you have to applaud Chesterfield and obviously the individual that scored the goal. It was a great moment for them, and I'm very, very proud of the performance that they actually put out.
And talking about feel good moments, definitely for Chelsea, turn the focus back to the club here. It's a good moment for Cobham, for the academy. I mean, you look and two of the scorers, while not necessarily recent academy grads, Callum Hudson-Odoi has been with the first team for a couple of years now. Christensen is now a veteran at this point, but he also came through the academy. Both of them scored some pretty fantastic goals. Callum Hudson-Odoi's was straight out of FIFA 22, that curler. Christensen, I thought, had sailed the header, 20 rows back, but it was a great, almost chip header, for lack of a better term. It was really good. And Parker, you had mentioned that we wish we could see some more of the youth in this one. We certainly had enough youth on the bench. You still had Webster and Simons available. Harvey Vale didn't come on until the 60th minute. Got to see a little bit of Lewis Baker, which was nice. But I that's one thing I don't understand is some of the subs in this one, specifically bringing on Havertz, and especially Ross Barkley. What was the point of bringing him on when you have so many youth midfielders on the pitch and you already have a 5-goal lead at that point? I wish we could bring Thomas Tuchel on the pod. We don't have that kind of reach, but it's something that just kind of boggles my mind as to the thinking behind that.
It's almost like hurting his stock too, because he's going out there and getting outshone by 17-year-olds. It's not a great look. I almost ate my words, Collins. You were like, he's going to score right away. And I was like, no chance. And then of course he puts a ball, just like 2 feet over the crossbar. And I was like, okay. So, I mean, Ross still has obvious quality, but man, I don't get it either. I think Ross wins my sort of get the fuck out of here award in perpetuity until he leaves, because I could see him go at any time here now. I don't need to see him play for Chelsea anymore. He's had his chances. Don't really need to see much more. But the one person that I do love seeing, who I often forget isn't like a seasoned veteran, is Ruben Loftus-Cheek. I saw him get out there and I'm thinking like, oh, why are we playing such a seasoned player? And I'm like, oh yeah, he's still young, which is still kind of funny in my own head. But he got to wear the captain's armband and he had a pretty commanding performance in midfield, and shows why he is highly regarded in Chelsea. We haven't seen it for a bit now. He's been out with a couple injuries and COVID, so it was just good to see him back out there. I was happy.
Yeah, and almost as much as this was kind of what we expected on paper, like we should kind of run over Chesterfield, it's at the same time, it's kind of a confidence builder, right? You have 5 different people on the score sheet. You have Timo, who we all know his history, especially at Chelsea last season. He needs goals. And granted, it was a tap in, but he had to collect it and deal with that. Cho with that beautiful R1 on the PS4 or PS5 and just curling it right into the bottom. That's big for him. I thought he had a very impactful performance. Ram probably should have had about 5. But he got 1. So, we take what we can get. Ziyech got his from the penalty spot. Christensen, I think collectively all 3 of us thought that he just absolutely skied that ball, and it wasn't even close. Which and I think we're all in agreement he didn't mean to do that. It just kind of happened. But it's a confidence building game, and I think going through the December that we had, you need a match like that against Chesterfield. You need a good match against Tottenham. You need that to kind of get yourself level set on who you are, what you should be doing. You had a rough month, fine. Now reset and figure out what needs to happen. And the fact that we're slowly getting players back into the fold, I think helps tremendously.
Yeah, and Matt, you touched on one thing that I wanted to get into after this week, and it was the confidence building, because one person who, with the way he was talking in the media, should have all the confidence in the world in himself, but seemingly is lacking it this week is Big Rom. Obviously there's the shitstorm last week with his fantastic interview with Sky Italia, but he missed countless chances against Spurs. He scored 1 in this one against a non-league side, where he, like you said, he could have had 5. just his body language does not look the greatest. Not that he's given up, but the man doesn't look sure of himself at this moment. And maybe that's to be expected with the fallout from last week. But overall, I'd say it wasn't a great week for Rom on the pitch, in my personal opinion. And honestly, to kind of piggyback on that, I don't think he's done anything for me to forgive him. At least, again, me personally. For those of you who heard my rant last week, I don't know.
If you haven't heard Collins' rant last week, please go back and watch it because it was fantastic. Sorry.
Right. Yeah, he's still in the doghouse for me. I don't know how you guys feel about how his week went, or how long it's going to take for him to get his swagger back. But I don't know. Timo showed more.
The thing that I will say is that during the match against Chesterfield, I thought that Rom was being aggressive. He was doing his hold-up play. He was bodying the center backs, doing Rom things, right? It's just the chances that he squandered. Maybe it's not that they should have been goals, but at least on target. He had a lot that missed the target, were high, that corner, that training ground routine from Ziyech, where it just fell right to his left foot and just right over the crossbar. Like, that's something with enough pace, it's no keeper's going to stop it. And to me, I think he's still working at the same rate that he was before. I do feel that he's still working hard. He knows he's got a long road ahead of him. I don't think that's lost on him. To me, against Chesterfield, I expected him to finish some of those opportunities, but it might just be a man kind of out of form, a little unsure of himself. We heard boos during that match when he had the ball. So, I mean, as a player, so all three of us, if you're a volleyball player, you say something like that, and then all of a sudden, anytime you get a kill or something like that, you get booed. What's that going to do to you mentally? Or you miss something and you get booed. Like, what's that going to do? So I think he's got a long road ahead. I do think that he is working hard to at least show out on the pitch as much as he can.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the middle of this whole thing. Collins, I hear you, and when we were talking before, you were like, Brown was shit, and I was like, I don't know if he was shit. I don't think he was phenomenal, but like, he put in a wrong performance, like you said, Matt. It was very typical of him, and then we're allowed to judge, is that good enough, which is very debatable, and I don't necessarily know the right answer. But I guess where my mind goes is when I watched like the Liverpool match last week, and I saw our team like press high without Rom. We had him not on the team sheet that week. When we pressed high against Liverpool and won back possession in really good, dangerous areas for a lot of like the first half, I'm wondering, like, if Rom's out there, are we doing this? And that was kind of like what was going on in my head. And I don't think so. I don't think we can like press the same way when Rom's out there. I just don't think he's quick enough to really cover and to like, set that trap and then really go on it. And so I think we're playing our best ball without him, which, the only way that he can kind of combat that is if he's in really phenomenal goal scoring form, which he's not. If he was going out there and we kind of have to shift the way we're playing, but he's scoring a lot of goals, now we have like a real debate on our hands. Like, what are we trading? Are we trading the press for goals? But if he's not, then I don't think it's really much of a question in my mind. So I don't think we're a better team when he's starting for us. I think he might be in super sub territory for me. He might be like 70-minute on when you need it in a tight game, when you desperately need someone to draw focus and then free some stuff up. But for me, I don't think he's in my top 11. Now, where it gets really interesting is with Timo as well, because I also don't think Timo's good enough long term to be a Chelsea player. As sad as I am to say that, I just think he's that kid that had all of the raw skill, and he's gotten by with a lot of raw skill for a long, long time. And he makes a ton of things happen, and it's great, but he just doesn't have that technical ability to finish and to create situations for him and his teammates. And I just don't think he's good enough, and we don't need to rag on him. It's not his fault. It's just, what it is. So all of that said, I think we're still where we were months ago, which is without that big striker, without that guy that we can rely on week in, week out for goals. And, when our squad is rotating and changing as much as it does, it's harder, and it becomes more apparent that, we need a goal scorer, and we don't necessarily know where that's coming from all the time. And it's a little nervy as a fan, because we don't know if we're going to get great opportunities. Collins, you said it earlier, man, some of those Ziyech passes, he just put people on plates. He just put people in those situations that they want to be in to score goals, and they just couldn't capitalize it. It just sort of hurt my soul for him, because those are highlight reel passes that just kind of go to waste. And so it sucks. All you need is like an Olivier Giroud or a Samuel Eto'o, or someone who knows how to put the ball in from close range, and knows has that knack, just kind of pops up in the right place to do it. So what we do with Rom, that's beyond my pay grade, but I think we might be a better team without him. That's kind of the emphasis of the point.
Well, let's play everyone's favorite game here. Let's play gun to your head. Saw a rumor this week, PSG are pretty much resigned to the fact that Mbappe's gone, and they've identified Rom as their replacement. PSG comes to us in the summer, offers 90 million. Take him or leave him.
If PSG comes to us 90 mil, I think we counter and we ask for 110.
That's not how gun to your head works.
I'm just saying, PSG has money. They play in the French league. Let's be
okay.
honest.
So if they say yes to 110, you sell them?
Yeah.
Of course you sell them. Of course you sell them.
I want to try and make money off of this.
if you can sell them for not a bad loss, you sell them. I think that's how this works, because I think it's an experiment that hasn't gone great. And had he kept his mouth shut, we're in a different situation, but he didn't, and here we are. So I sell him. I sell him. I don't remember exactly what his price was, but within 10% of his price, I sell him.
Yeah, I think we'd bought him for like 97 point something. So it'd be well within there. But I agree, sell him. This is going to be the summer of strikers. So you got Mbappe, you got Haaland, you got what's his face out of Italy, Vlahovic or something like that.
Who is apparently going to Arsenal.
No.
Those are talks.
Shitting on Arsenal moment right here. His camp has come out and said that they're going to stall on that to wait for a bigger opportunity. So sorry, Arsenal, you're not big enough.
Maybe Arsenal can debut their 18th kit of the season to try to, wrangle them in. Come here. We have lots of kits. We're Puma. We're awesome.
All right. So round 2 of gun to your head. And Collins, you cannot say Jovic. Who do you sign if you do sell Rom for 85-ish mil? Who do you sign as your next striker? Because Kai and Timo aren't going to hack it.
I think I'm going out and getting 3, 2 of them on a free. Luis Suarez and Diego Costa on a free, both free agents. And then I think the third, you're going after whoever the big name ticket is. Whether that's if you can swing Haaland, if you can swing Vlahovic. I think you got to go after someone big there.
Yeah, I think Holland would be my first pick if we can get him. I think Chiesa would be my second pick. I just like his game. I think he's dynamic. I think he's young and fast and pretty dynamic. So, but I think Holland would be the striker on everyone's front list. I think that that dude does things that other people can't. So he would be one of the guys that you would want to go after.
Yeah, Holland is definitely the front runner for every major club right now, right? Mbappe, honestly, I don't think he's worth the money, at least right now. Like he's barely producing at PSG. So what does that say when you're barely producing in the French league and you have all the money in the world to basically buy the entire French league, and you have Messi, you have Neymar, and still not producing. So I would say Holland definitely. I would. This is me being a little bit of a fanboy right now. Bring in Zlatan. Bring him in. He's still scoring at AC Milan. He showed that he can score with Man United when he was 34 years old. Give me a big bruising center forward that can just do work and who's not going to take shit from anybody. That's the epitome of that. And I'm pretty sure he's going to be on a free transfer as well. So take a look at that. Collins, you and I have kind of talked about, Anthony Martial. He might not be a bad option. Yeah, he played a lot of left wing for Man United, but I can't tell you the last time I've seen him play at all. So he's going to be real cheap. He was a very hot commodity about 4 or 5 years ago. Give him a shot. See what he can do. Especially if you're going to get him really cheap. So I think we have a lot of options. It's just what's going to actually work.
And I think we're just going to go up against a lot of competition. It's going to be who do you court and who do you sort of highlight as your marquee signing, because the news always likes to talk about like who's on your list and who's your marquee transfer targets and stuff. And every big club is going to have some of the same people on the same lists. So it's going to be it'll be an interesting January, but more so in the summer. I think it'll be sort of frantic to try to get those big name people to come to your club.
And Parks, you bring up a good point with a conundrum that we have at Chelsea right now with our shot keepers. We have Mendy and we have Kepa. Mendy, obviously the preferred number one. And then you have Kepa, who's making probably 3 times as much. Collins, how do you handle that going into next year? Like we know Kepa's great when it comes to penalties. We know Mendy is not. We've seen Kepa grow in confidence during some of the FA Cup matches and things like that. Obviously, Mendy gone with AFCON. Kepa's going to be the number one, and then you have Bettinelli as the number 2. How do you deal with the Kepa situation going into next year?
Yeah, with Kepa, the turnaround has been fantastic. You get that big price tag on him. Coming over from Spain, the world's most expensive keeper, and he did fine at first, and then kind of struggled under Frank, eventually being dropped. So we can bring in Mendy. And now this year, it's like the pressure's off. I don't know what Tuchel did, but it's fantastic. Kepa has looked good in every match that he's played, and granted, it's primarily been only cup matches. but he's made some big saves. He's kept a couple clean sheets. As we mentioned a couple weeks ago, he now has the club record for penalties saved. He's looked good, and this year I think it works out because of AFCON. We're losing Mendy for a month, so you need a great keeper, on the books who's going to be here. But I don't know how sustainable it is. It's like a quarterback in the NFL where there's only one who plays, and typically you're playing that one. You're not playing two quarterbacks. Kepa's going to be looking for another opportunity. He's young enough. He has the talent. He's going to be looking to get back into the Spanish national team, and to do that, he needs playing time. I think if we can build back some of that value for him, and maybe if he wants to go play for Maurizio Sarri again, which I don't know why, but that seems to be the rumor. Sell him off, because AFCON's only every couple of years. So this is kind of a once in a couple year instance that this is going to happen. I love Kepa. I've got faith in him to finish out the year, but I think honestly he's got to go, and that's going to recoup some cash for us to spend elsewhere on the squad. Parker, what do you think?
Couldn't agree more, man. The one thing I'll add is this month is going to be a hell of a test for him, because he's got some definite big matches ahead of him now with Tottenham City, Brighton, and then Tottenham again. He's going to face some shots. So I'm curious to see how he does. He can get over his I don't like to save shots outside the box mentality or whatever the hell was going on with that. The turnaround's been great. It's been well documented on this pod. His attitude, I never thought I'd be cheering for him kind of after what I saw when he refused to come out. I was just like, fuck this guy. I don't ever need to see him again. And so I didn't really ever think I'd be cheering for him. His turnaround's been great. Tuchel seems to have a way with people. He is a manager of players and personalities, which I think is impressive and great. But I think his value definitely has a chance to go up this month. And, I think he has to part ways with the club at some point here, because he's going to want to. He's not going to want to sit around and be second fiddle to anyone, and he deserves to play, and he deserves to be the starting keeper somewhere. So don't blame the guy for a second.
I mean, not that it was the primary issue at Barcelona, but you saw how it happened at Barca when you had two number one keepers in Victor Valdez and Marc-Andre ter Stegen. The club went bankrupt. It's like paying a lot of money to two different starting quarterbacks, to use that analogy again. You're spending a lot of money on a position where you can only play one player. So I think assuming Bettinelli plays well in his next couple matches, I think that's going to further along Kepa's sail in summer.
Yeah, I completely agree. Obviously, we didn't see a lot from Bettinelli in the Chesterfield match. Like, there wasn't, and the goal that was scored, there wasn't much he could do. I hold Malang Sarr responsible for that one, but there wasn't much he could do. But when he was called upon, he was there. He had good, solid saves. I don't see any reason to at least not give him the benefit of the doubt. Like, he's a good keeper, and to have Kepa there and all that stuff, like, and with a lot of cup games that we have coming up, especially in January and even into February, like, we're going to be in a lot of competition. So why not give him a shot and see what he can do against some further quality teams, shall we say.
And Matt, speaking of Malang Sarr, we'd kind of joked that he's kind of now in the school of Antonio Rudiger defense. He's Mr. Aggressive out on the pitch, and I talked shit about him a couple weeks ago. Actually, it might have been last week. on the pod. And so, of course, he has a decent week. He was responsible for the goal. Probably shouldn't have been helping Lewis Baker, freeing up two runners at the far post. But overall, his aggression, his distribution, he made a couple Rudy runs against Chesterfield. I think Malang Sarr played well. And honestly, the reports that Rudiger may actually sign a contract this month, I think is positive news, because we've seen both Malang Sarr and Trev kind of follow in Rudy and Thiago Silva's footsteps and learn from the two big boys there. So, hopeful that next couple of weeks we get Rudiger news, and hopefully it's positive.
It wouldn't be a pod unless somebody said it, so I'll say it. Pay that man.
I've been high on Malang Sarr though. To further the discussion, I like the way he plays, and he's one of those players that, like, I didn't know his name before this season started, and so to even like kind of consider him as a starting 11 option from me not knowing who he was before it's pretty remarkable how like far up the chain he's kind of come. He's still very young. He's still pretty raw, and so I think he still has a lot of room to develop into it. But he's not a big name. He wasn't $100 million, transfer in. So no expectations, and he's definitely surprised me. I know he surprised a lot of folks, and just being able to go out and put a performance in. So he still has a couple of moments here and there. He still has some questionable decisions. I think he'll learn, and it's like him and Trev, man. I think they're playing above their age and their sort of experience in the first team so far. And I think we take that for granted a little bit, because not everyone can kind of come in and just do that and get pretty consistent results with it. So, shout out to Sarr. I think he's been great so far.
All right, well, let's turn to the week ahead here. Coming up, let's see, what day is that? The 12th is Wednesday. We've got the second leg of the Carabao Cup. We got Tottenham at Tottenham. And then coming up later in the week on Saturday, we resume the Premier League. I believe this is one of two Premier League matches in the month of January, away to City, in honestly what is going to be a make or break game in terms of chasing that title. We kind of talked about how we dominated Tottenham, so not exactly too focused on that. But how do you guys feel going into the City match with us just struggling for that last month, and City, what are they on now, like a 12-game win streak?
13.
Even better.
I don't know. With City, like, this is where they shine, right? In kind of the grueling months, they usually tend to slip up a little bit in like that March window. But right now they've built such a good lead. Obviously, us drawing with Liverpool helped them out tremendously. I think as long as we have everybody healthy, I think if we have N'Golo Kante back, then we're fine. I could see it being a draw. I could see us winning. I could see, a bullshit scenario like the first time we played with that Gabriel Jesus deflected goal between three people. I could see that too, and that going both ways. I do still think the biggest issue that we're going to have is at left back. If you're going to run Riyad Mahrez on the right, or let's say you run Raheem Sterling on the right, because he can just blow past Alonso, how do you deal with that? Because you could easily have Jack Grealish on the left and throw Raz over on the right, and then you still have Phil Foden up top, or Bernardo Silva in that kind of false nine-ish role. they have so many options, just like us. We all have a lot of options. The only difference is that Pep has had what 4 years, 5 years to implement his system and his style of play. So everybody knows what they're doing. Tuchel's had now a full year, and so people are still adjusting and learning. And I think the match against City is going to be a match where we're going to fully understand the value of N'Golo Kante and also Chilwell.
Collins, what do you think?
There's reason to be worried and there's reason not to. The reason to be worried is that obviously City does not have a Carabao Cup match in the middle of the week, so they will have not played since this weekend, where they played Swindon in the FA Cup. So they're going to be well rested. They played a lot of youth, a lot of reserve guys in that FA Cup match. So really, their last real match was Arsenal a couple weeks ago. They're going to be well rested, and that does not give me hope. Pep usually does well when he's got time to prepare for another team. What does give me hope is that Tuchel has won 3 out of his last 4 against Pep. And also City seem vulnerable as of late. Boxing Day, they surrendered 6 to Leicester. They only won 1-0 against Brentford. They nearly lost to Arsenal. And then they gave up a goal against Swindon. Parker, you're giving me a funny look.
It was 3-3 at Leicester. I think they went to penalties. Or no, it didn't.
6-3 against Leicester.
Damn. Crazy.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was like, wait, what?
So, I mean, they've been giving up goals lately, which is good for us because, if they've been keeping clean sheets, we probably would not score with the way our offense seems to work. So, I don't know. I think, honestly, it probably ends in a draw, but that doesn't do well for the title race. We are 10 points out with, it'll be 22 games played at that point.
I am optimistic of this match. For all of the reasons that you guys said, we don't have any business winning this match, and therefore I think we should win. Or I think we will win. I don't think we should win. I think on paper, you line this up, and I think City probably takes it. But I said it, I don't know if it was last week or the week before, but City's going to have their stretch where they don't play, their best. And Chelsea, I think, has kind of gone through their stretch where they don't play their best, and we call that December. And I think we're sort of past that, and I think we're playing better football, more consistent football. Obviously, I'm concerned with the schedule and the amount of injuries and all of the things that we talked about. I'm not blind and not naive to all those points, but I think there's something to be said where you're consistent in the fact that you play every midweek and every weekend, and you guys are going up there and they're starting to gel and they're starting to figure some things out. And what I really love about our team, I've said it a lot before, but what I really love about our team is our versatility, and people can kind of plug holes and go different places and play different spots and serve different roles on the team. And I don't think every team has that. And I know City's deep as well, but they're one COVID outbreak or one injury kind of spell away from dropping points. And I think Tuchel will have our guys kind of prepared for it. And I think, everyone's going to expect City to run away with it, but, Chelsea can still put out a team that does work. And Matt, I love what you said about Conte, because I think Conte is a huge key to the match. I think Kepa is a huge key to the match. I think if we can control the mid, we have a really, really good chance to win the match. Whether our guys can score goals, that's to be seen, and that's sort of what we rest on. But I think we have a really good chance to pull one out and to win against City. I'm never confident going in against City, but this one I feel like we're going to pull it out.
Yeah, and one additional thing is, because I watched the City match against Swindon Town, They had 7 first-team starters out with COVID. So, obviously regardless of what team that you support, anything or player, we don't want that to happen. But at the same time, we don't know what they're going to come back as, because obviously it impacts people differently. So some people might be out, some big players might be out, some may not. We don't know. It kind of boils down to that whole equation of, what does COVID do and what's the actual scenario around it. So it's always been a big question mark. So we'll have to see what happens.
So what do you guys expect in this match? You go back to last season and then to our first match against them this year, and we've ceded quite a bit of possession, which is odd for our team. Typically, we win the possession battle, but we lost it to an extreme earlier in the year. I believe it was close to 70% Man City had. And then the Champions League final, obviously, we were playing to counter the whole time. Do you think Tuchel changes that strategy at all, or do you think we continue to play for the counter?
I think it depends on who we have available at center back. If we can run Rudy, Thiago Silva, and either Dave or Trev, then we're fine. Because you have all that experience. You have a back line that understands the system, especially Thiago Silva, who played under Tuchel at PSG. So you have that. And Thiago Silva, obviously a leader. He's not going to keep up with the quickest of people, but he's going to put himself in a position to be able to be effective, as we've seen game in and game out when he's been playing. He's arguably been our best player and most consistent player all year. I just think that it depends on that. It depends on if we have N'Golo Kante. I personally don't want, and this is not Jorginho hate, I don't want Jorginho in that match against City. I want Kova and I want Kante. I think that is your best bet going up against a very prolific midfield from Man City. Those are your best options. Maybe throw on Jorginho as a late sub if it's 0-0, try and calm things down. That's fine, but you need somebody who can run both ends of the pitch, not afraid to make those runs. Kante is going to be pressing up top, so I think that's what you need. You have to attack Man City with what they do best, right? The best defense is a strong offense. The best offense is a strong defense. However you want to look at it. You have to throw it right back in their throat, right? If they do one thing well, you have to throw it right back at them. They're good at high press. We have to throw that right back at them and see how they do it. And I think that's going to be the key to the game. Do we take it to them or do we let them dictate?
And I think the high press is the key for us. I think if we're able to press them the way we press Liverpool, I think the possession battle evens out a little bit more. If I was a betting man, I'm guessing City will have a bit more, but I'm guessing it's more like 55-45 than 70-30 kind of a possession. So I think that's only a product of when we get possession. When Kova and Kante get possession, they look up and they kind of send balls long, which just doesn't result in those spells of possession. So I think that'll be more of our attack than that traditional build-up play. And I think we're almost better when we do that anyway. So I'm not mad about it. But I think we still will have a good amount of build-up play, and we'll be able to press high and win some balls back in the middle. So I think it'll be close, but my guess is it'll be closer to 50-50 than it will be 70-30.
Yeah, I'm looking at the odds here. And we're certainly not a betting show, but yeah, City is pretty heavily favored. It's 8-1 odds for City to win by 2 goals. Whereas the reverse for us is 33-1. So not looking good in terms of betting for us. So yeah, maybe put some money down on that game. Might come out with a couple bucks.
Let's go. Easy money.
$5. $5 all day.
All right. So with that, I think we'll wrap up this week's pod. Again, we got Spurs and City this week, so I'm guessing next week's pod should be a real interesting one. Hopefully, coming away with 3 points and moving on to the final of the Carabao Cup. But we shall wait and see. In the meantime, you can certainly follow us on all social media: Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at FlagDownPod. If you like what you hear, please subscribe, rate, and review. You can now leave us a review or give a review on Spotify, which is a new feature. So please do that. If you listen to us on Apple, again, rate and review. Otherwise, boys, it's been a pleasure, and looking forward to Pod After Dark here.
Yeah.
Cheers,
Thank you, Collins. Yeah, cheers. I'm all potted out.